Welcome to everybody here. It is Saturday, the 26th of March, 2022, and 2022 is moving right along, isn't it? Very interestingly, of course, lots of things going on in the world. And so we here in our little space that we're in right now, I want you to recognize, and if this is true also if you're watching this by way of a recording, a replay, that this space is has its own sacredness right here, and we're protected with each other here in this space, and you can just relax into it. We're going to do something a little bit different than usual today, but some of it is going to sound very familiar. I think you know that I have been focusing on our meetings, the first meetings here of 2022, the every other Saturday meetings. Our first one was January 15th, focusing on having 2022 gradually become better and better and better, more enjoyable, more loving in our lives, easier living, and becoming, let's say, more and more comfortable with our lives, and especially more and more comfortable with who we are and enjoying ourselves and as being who we are. And maybe there's a lot of other things that you've been doing, because a number of you, Jane, Rhonda, Denise, you've been with me on every one of these, I think, in the first, the first few months here of 2022. And so because every week has been devoted to doing some kind of a transformational process or a breakthrough process, or some kind of something deep that goes in, so that in that meeting, we actually accomplish a great deal, that there is some significant movement towards, our enjoyment of life, enhancing it, and being more successful at the same time, as well as enjoying it. Those two things, I think, are the most important things in life for us to learn. Not only how to be successful, but how to enjoy it at the same time. In my executive coaching days years ago, it was something I saw firsthand a lot of success. I worked with a lot of business professionals, and because of the because of the company that I was working with, I happened to see everybody was successful. The company was quite successful. But in my private sessions, I found that many of them were not enjoying that success, and that their primary focus, that they wouldn't tell anybody, but did, in the privacy of our one-on-one sessions, that they were feeling that they were like just two steps ahead of failure and doing their best to avoid failure. And that was their whole orientation. But you'd never know it by the outward appearances of their success. And so with those people, well, of course, that sense of avoiding failure is always a sure sign of inner conflict between the left and the right hemisphere of the brain. And so with those folks, that was always the first thing I did with them, to bring them peace. And many of them said that they hadn't had the inner peace that they got after bringing their left and right hemisphere together. They hadn't had that peace in years. Some of them didn't even remember what it was like. And so when you come from that, being that far down in the scale of enjoying your life, to a big change within just a couple of hours session to having inner peace, it's a big deal for them. And so for us here, I'm saying this is a big deal for us to learn how to create our lives. It's what we came here for. Learn how to create our lives in a way that we can be successful and enjoy it at the same time. So today, we're going to put some attention on what I call states of being. It's a simple concept, really. A state of being. You saw in the email I talked about peace and joy and happiness. And peace is a state of being. It has a vibrational signature, a frequency signature in our brain and in our body. And joy has a different frequency signature in our brain and in our body. And the freedom also is a different state of being, has a different feel to it, has a different frequency signature. But my sense is, and I think I'm speaking somewhat from personal experience, but I want to confess to you that when I was thinking about what we were going to do today, that came to me more as an inspiration than thinking, oh, I know about peace and freedom and joy, and it just came to me that what if you put those three states of frequency together and they're harmonious with each other because their frequencies match together? It's much like if you play any kind of a stringed instrument, like I play a little bit of guitar, I play a little bit of 5-string banjo. When it's out of tune, those 5 strings or those 6 strings on a guitar, you can plunk them and it's like, listening to them is painful. But then you put them, even though each string of a 6-string guitar is vibrating at a different frequency, when the guitar is in tune, it's delightful. And it's just a delightful feeling that I get from when I change from one chord to the next, from a C chord to a D chord, from a C chord to an F chord, from a G, to an A chord. And when it's all in tune, it's just absolutely wonderful. And putting those 3 states together with the frequencies that each of them brings to the party, peace, joy, and freedom, you've got this wonderful, delightful feeling, combination, like a configuration of these 3 states of being all occurring at the same time. And we're going to do some experimentation and exploration for what that adds to this process that we've done any number of times already this year, which is doing a super meeting and dealing with some issue. We're going to take it to a super meeting, dealing with something that's going on in our lives that we either want to accomplish and haven't quite yet, or some problem that we might be experiencing, or something fun that we want to have happen, or something satisfying that we want to have happen in the coming week, let's say, or coming 2 weeks. So that's what we're going to go work on today. And I have not started the recording. Did I start the recording? I did start the recording. Goodness gracious, I forgot all about that. I was thinking, oh my goodness. And I remember, any number of times going 15 minutes into a program and having not started the recording and thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? But there we go. I can go.
Pretty sure you did, but you scared me too.
Yeah. Well, I had to look up there and see. Yep, there it was. Because that was the opening monologue right there. I was complete. And I thought, oh, goodness, next stage. So if, I'd like to hear a little bit from you all to kind of just get me centered, so to speak, so I'm not doing all the talking. And I want to hear a little bit about maybe from Denise and Rhonda and Jane, what may have transpired since the work that we did 2 weeks ago. And we did quantum jumping 2 weeks ago. And when we do something like that, quantum jumping, it's not like you get a result right away on that one, or although the state of being that you get with quantum jumping is pretty enjoyable usually, but whether you get the result you want doesn't show up right away. And so it'd be interesting to hear from a couple of you as to what may have transpired from quantum jumping that we did 2 weeks ago. And Evelyn, if you wanted to jump in a little bit, I would love to hear, and you don't have to do it right away, and you don't have to actually do it at all, but I would be curious as to what what prompted you today to come to the meeting? So glad you're here. But what made today just a little bit different? So let's see. Rhonda, if you're okay, I'll pick on you first. Uh, Anything that may have transpired in the last couple of weeks, if you can want to unmute yourself and.
Okay, I dropped my phone as you said my name. I was like, oh no. So I was a little
Yeah.
panicked there for a minute.
No, sorry to startle you.
That's okay.
Yeah.
No, I love whatever you want to call it. Divine coincidence is what I say. And I was listening to my favorite podcast this week with Joe Dispenza. Dr. Joe was the guest. And he just mentioned quantum jumping. And he was talking about, your frequency and everything. And I just love how these things are just, coming into my life. And also a very good reminder of the quantum jumping. So when I experienced that with you and you walked us through that last time, I felt really empowered and joyful. And it had been after being, actually, I was in the middle of like long COVID, and while that bothered me, what's been going on and working with you is I'm not depressed because of it. I'm able to like stay in a really positive place, despite the frustrations and the limitations. And so I've spent a lot of time with one particular other self in quantum jumping this last week.
Really?
And been working on just little tidbits and opened up something in the past that probably just needed to be acknowledged and easily let go once it was like, okay, here it is, I'm gonna let you go. But getting a lot of confidence and direction and some things that have always been hard for me when I'm busy and I travel with my job, especially when I don't feel well. Fast food is like calls my name, quite the siren song. And I have been able to just ignore that or acknowledge it and then ignore it, and move on and just recognize that this other self already figured that out. And so it's helped me. And then there's another ambition I have that has just been fired up, that had really been backburnered, and that's alive and again, and there's just a lot of hope with that. So it's been a really great couple of weeks, even being not 100%, which is extraordinary because I'd rather wallow. That's the habit. And the accessing the person who doesn't wallow has really helped me also. So,
wow, wonderful.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you.
So that's like, is that actually two individuals? One that's got it all worked out with the food, and one that's got it worked out with the not wallowing.
There are two, and honestly, I can't remember which one. There have been two, and I also feel like there's been another one trying to talk to me that doesn't have it together as I do, and that's just an impression, and I just I felt like there was some advice flowing out from me about how I accomplished some things that I did accomplish. So,
yeah.
Oh
my goodness, that part is so heartwarming, because quantum jumping, obviously, that's not mainstream in one sense. And it's not without a bunch of controversy in terms of the scientific community, but at the same time, what happens when we delve into these other states of being, other states of mind that are available to us, we start to, I think, we start to learn our creativity and our improvisational our desire to learn, continuously learn new things,
Mm-hmm.
it is opens up. And so you you got a request from somebody else that was doing the same thing that you were doing, and like you opened yourself up to be a portal for them, um, by just allowing yourself to delve into the whole concept of this strange concept of quantum jumping. And so you've carried it to another level, which is wonderful because you get to give as well as take. And giving is so wonderful when you're able to do it. Um, Rather than always be taking, or rather than always be giving, having like a wonderful balance of it,
Mm-hmm.
seems like it's totally natural, and it's like the way things seem to be, the way things seem to ought to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just delighted, inspired by hearing it go to that level, and that your intuitional sense is you've gotten a request from another dimension where you could, as we say, pay it forward.
Yeah, it's
Wonderful.
amazing, and honestly, this is the stuff that probably even 15 years ago I wouldn't have even entertained trying, because of my faith and what I've been told, and I would say conditioned to do. And I think that's the other piece I want to throw in here is just that my faith is just as steadfast as it ever has been. This has not changed it. In fact, it's only deepened it, because I feel like I have a clearer picture of the divine that is so much more pure that than some of the things that the hateful people who say they have the same beliefs I do have assigned to the divine. So it's been really lovely, a
Yeah,
lovely experience. So,
yeah. I I get it. Lovely. And I'm so happy for that too, because that's one of the things I'm always aware of is is anything that I'm teaching is never going to be about people changing what they already love to believe and what's already working for them.
yeah,
So to hear some confirmation from you that that's how it's turned out for you is just heartwarming. Yeah,
thank
thanks, Rhonda.
you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And let's see, Jane or Denise, and we may have lost. Okay, I don't. I'm missing one more person, but Jane, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, like Rhonda, I just have had a really good couple of weeks since we did the quantum jumping. And I'm almost forgetting what I quantum jumped about. And I was looking over my notes, and I think it was just dealing with my autoimmune condition and also finding my voice that could really stand up and speak my truth to
Oh,
the
I remember that. Yeah, I've got
yeah.
some notes on that.
And so I haven't really, but my voice is coming back, and it's my circle of contacts and the people that have come back into my life and are also new in my life are all people that work with spirit and have done so for many years in their life. And so as I get to participate and get invited to functions and ceremonial things, I'm comfortable there. I'm really comfortable there, and I'm participating I feel at a higher level rather than I'm not reticent. So that I think is that's kind of huge, and yeah, just more ease and grace. I'm very comfortable in my body right now.
Very nice.
I'm still working on my sleep because my sleep is a place of I'll probably be working on sleep today, but I just think it's interesting when I text with someone about a practical matter, and then they come back and they say, well, I was in the middle of a podcast that was pretty intense, but I'm going to call on my higher guides to kind of help me. This is how they'll respond to me. They'll say, well, I'm just going to call on my higher guides to help me download this information because it appears to be over my head. And I'm going, nobody said that to me a month or two ago, you know? And now it's just like, this friend of mine was just responding like, well, I'll be calling on my higher guides to help me. I'm not going to even try and deal with this. I'm just going to call on my higher guides. So between you and then every other week, Sherry every week, you know, and we're coming up here on our 4th Sunday tomorrow. This is becoming like metaphysics is becoming part of my daily language and my daily dealings with people. And I said to my niece this morning on a call with her, I said, it's kind of like I'm happier here. And it's like every day is, I feel like I did when I was a kid. I'm playing every day. It's like nothing's that serious anymore. Even my problems are not serious, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say it's working.
Good. I mean, that sounds like our theme is being fulfilled better and better every day.
Yeah.
Or, every few days. 2022 is getting better and better as we go along here.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So happy for you on all of that, Jane. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Let's see, Denise.
Well, I too, I don't have the right book in front of me, so I don't remember what I did last week, but
Let's see, I might remember.
oh,
Oh, wait, I don't have it in here. Thought I
yeah,
had it.
I don't think I shared or too much.
Maybe not. Yeah.
But I remember, what I do remember out of it is throughout the time, I remembered thinking, I can always go back there. And it gave me peace to just know that. I mean, I didn't need to have more than that. So I found that nice. And then I had a situation the other night where something happened that was pretty profound within me, and I went right back to my childhood. I mean, it was like almost, you know how in space Star Trek, Scotty beams you up and then you're right there. I mean, this was faster than that. I was immediately back to a situation that was very painful and very sad, and it was just difficult. And I just stayed with it, and I learned a lot from it. And then in the morning, my meditation with Panache was right on track for me. And he was saying that you no longer have to be afraid of yourself. And that, coupled with what I had been through, you know, throughout the night, and I couldn't shake it. I almost called you, Jane, and I thought, well, I wonder if Jane's still awake at 1 a.m. But because I needed to release it, but then I did it on my own. And then, like I say, that morning with the meditation, it was so tied into everything. And it was like such a major release of stuff, like a lot of stuff in one ball. And maybe that's why it felt so profound, was this was attached to that, and to almost like the mirror, you know, in the quantum leaping. It's like, okay, you went to that layer, then you went to the next layer, and, you know, way down into where it's teeny tiny and infinite, into infinity. But so that was kind of cool. So I'm moving forward with that information and see where it takes me.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on that. Absolutely. And I'm so also inspired by the confluence of events, like you were talking about Nosh. And so it's like there's this unseen coordination between all of these things what we do here, what you do with Nosh, and what's happening with some of the folks that are working with Sherry. And then who knows, what are the things that are all in there. And they all seem to be in some kind of secret coordination, which is really nice. Yeah. Because they are. Yeah. And we're participating in that. And our intentions allow that to happen. So we're creating that coordination and getting better and better at it. I would have to say. Yeah. So thanks, Denise. So was there anybody else? No, I think. Yeah. And welcome, Paula, from California. Good to see that you're here listening. Wonderful. So I think you can all see my screen here. We're going to do a super meeting today, but we're going to add that extra layer of special frequencies to our super meeting today and get a chance to see what kind of richness that even adds to it. So the other term I use for super meetings is the personal discovery and breakthrough process, because we involve our left and right hemisphere inside of a super meeting, get them deeply involved and get them expressing what their thoughts, their viewpoints, their concerns are, things they want to have happen. And we get it all into the problem space, as I sometimes call it. We get it all up on the table. And we reach this point at the conclusion of the personal discovery portion of a super meeting, where all three of us, let's say my left and right hemisphere, and me as like the third self, who is moderating, who is facilitating, who's managing and helping it along as like the moderator, that all three of us reach this point right at the end of the personal discovery part, where we're in this vibrational alignment. And it's a magic moment. And that is the moment that I'm calling peace. All of those moments, whenever they happen, when our left and right hemisphere and us as the third self-consciousness are in alignment with each other, total and complete alignment with each other, that's always, always, always accompanied by peace. And that's, of course, one of the big reasons that if you go into a super meeting and you decide, hey, I want to do a super meeting because I'm stressed about this. Not only is this a problem I want solved or a goal I really want to accomplish, but I'm stressed about the situation. And like on a scale of 1 to 10, I might be at 8 or something like that. Or every time I talk about those numbers, I still laugh at Denise, 14.5. She blew the 10-point scale out of the water there. So, but you might be in a state where I've got stress that might be at a level of an 8 or a 9 or something like that. And it is a sure thing that when you do a super meeting and you get to a certain point in the super meeting, that stress starts to drop, to where everybody, and I can't think of any exceptions, everybody that has gone through this process, and I've asked, what's your level of stress right now? Though it wasn't all the way down to a 0 with everybody, lots of people it was, but it would drop down to a 3 or a 2 or a 1 every time. And so if you're in the midst of stress and you could say, I'm at a level 8, and you would like it to drop significantly, a super meeting is an absolutely sure way to do that. Absolutely certain to do it. So I know for myself, super meetings are something that I want to do more of than what I'm already doing. I don't know what it is. It's one of those things where I need to be reminded of the value. I need to remind myself in order to do more, because I don't do enough. And sometimes I'll reach a point And maybe one of you might be kind of with me on that. Sometimes I'll reach a point and there's some issue that's been brewing or simmering, and it reaches a point where it's like a threshold where, okay, I need to do something about this. Once I reach that little threshold, I need to do something about this. Then I immediately think, God, I could have done this a few days ago. I could have, but I didn't. So in any case, I'll look at the situation. That was okay. All right. I let it simmer for a few days. I suffered a little more than I needed to, but fine. It didn't hurt me really bad. So it's my encouragement for you to do these whenever you've got an issue. So right at the beginning here, we're going to incorporate peace, joy, and freedom. So I'd like you to get relaxed and get comfortable where you are. And I want you to remember a time when you had a wonderful sense of inner peace. And take a few moments to come up with one. I know for me, when I go hunting like that for a state of being, it takes me a little bit. It doesn't come, sometimes it comes right away, but most of the time it doesn't. So remember a time. Remember a time. So I'm remembering a time a long time ago that I happened to be reminded of several times during the week, this past week. I was reminded of this this time in my life. It was 1994, and there was a special place where I lived, my favorite place that I've ever lived, and that place was just imbued with peace. And I can remember where I often was in that place when I was experiencing that peace. And so if you've got something like that you remember, I want you to take your left hand and put it over your heart as you're remembering that and enjoying it, the memory of it. And breathe. And bring your right hand up and with just your 4 fingers lightly on your left hand and lock in that peace. Lock in that peace right into your heart area. And now it's going to be there for us during the balance of our session here today. It's going to be there for us. So we've got it anchored in. Now you can take away your right hand and take away your left hand. And now remember sometime in the past where you were just, for whatever the reason was, full of joy. That you were full of joy. And remember one like that. And I'm myself examining and remembering, kind of going through my memories to find a time when for some reason, I was just full of joy. For some reason, I was just full of joy. I don't know about you, but it's kind of interesting, this process. I was doing it earlier today and yesterday, and I was actually having a little difficulty coming up with a time when I was full of joy. Even right up until us doing it right here, right now, I was having a challenge. And then as I was doing it here with you all right here, right now, there was a time that I remembered actually yesterday, but I resisted it. And I thought, no, not that time. No, not that time. I'm going to go for another time. And now that time came back. And that's my moment of joy, when I was full of joy. And take your left hand once again and move your left hand over your heart. And you're bringing that joy into your heart area. Just breathe. It's bringing that being full of joy. Slowly bring up your right hand and touch your left hand, the back of your left hand with the 4 fingers, and anchor that being full of joy into the same area. So they're now together, peace and joy. And they fit so beautifully together, frequency-wise, vibrationally wise, that they make a beautiful sound together, like 2 notes that are in wonderful harmony with each other. And breathe, and it's in there, and you can put your right hand down and put your left hand back down. Now we've anchored that in. So now remember a time when you felt wonderfully free, whenever that was, in the recent past, or maybe you go back a little further, time when you were very young, maybe, when you felt just wonderfully free. And just take a moment, breathe, yeah. And when you've got that moment, wonderfully free, that state, take your left hand once again for a third time, put it over your heart area, and begin to put that feeling wonderfully free in there vibrationally with the other two, peace and joy. And that freedom is now in there. And now you can hear the three notes in total and perfect harmony with each other. And you can feel the energy that courses through your body, that spreads and radiates all in a 360-degree pattern, up, down, around, back, front, side, side, all around and throughout. You can feel that energy, and it just settles in there. And take your right hand once again, and with your four fingers, just lightly touch the back of your left hand, and you lock that in. Now you've locked those three notes, peace, joy, and freedom together, and playing this just wonderful, delightful, harmonious chord. And this is what I call a superstate. And you can feel the energy from this superstate move again through your body. The superstate of peace, joy, and freedom. And now you can drop your right hand and put your left hand back down. And we've anchored in that third one. Now I'm going to stop the share and come back to us. Because this is the first time I've ever actually done this one in a group, created a superstate. I want to check in with you and just give me a sense of your experience of those three. I think the first thing would be to confirm, was everybody here able to come up with a peace state? And was everybody able to come up with a joy state? And was everybody able to come up with a freedom state? Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, I'll entertain any thoughts about it. Like I said, this is the first time I've done this in a group. So entertaining any thoughts of your experience that as we were going through that. Rhonda, would you mind starting again?
Yeah, it was all those things, and three very different experiences that I had remembered. So, which was funny because I tried to tie the second one, the joy, to the peace one, and it was like, no, go to this one. So it was nice because it added the layers and the harmony.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, great. And Jane?
Yeah, same thing. Mine went to childhood for peace. And then I went to a very extroverted thing that I did about 10 years ago, or probably longer, 15 years ago in Denver. And then my freedom took place just a couple years ago. And so having all three of those together like that, it was really, feels really good.
Yeah.
You know, it feels really.
Yeah. So it's just like a perfect moment to say, it's available to you now again, because you've anchored them in just by moving your left hand over your heart and just touching your four fingers there. It's anchored in there, and you can recall it at any point. And we're going to be doing that during this super meeting too. And I know you're going to be working on sleep, right?
Yep. Okay,
right. Denise?
Well, yeah, it was nice to take the journey. One of mine took me back to my joy was being on my motorcycle. Wow. and just the freedom and the peace and the connection to my inner being. First time ever in my life, I truly understood what it meant to be present. to be in the present moment. Because on the motorcycle, you really have to be aware 360 degrees around you. And but that gave me such joy to be able to connect to that and truly understand what it meant. And then to be out there, taking in sunsets and, just the joy, the freedom of being on the bike. And then it was kind of funny because then the next one took me back to childhood where I was riding my pedal bike. Was also a joyous time going down the road, and the sound, I didn't have a note, but it was wee. Was what came to me was when I was on my bike, because I could escape from all the bad stuff that was, behind me and just put it aside for a little bit while I was on my bike.
All right. Delightful. Thanks, Denise. Okay. And so all three of us, all four of us, five of us, and you who are watching by way of replay, you've selected something you want to work with here. And let's see, everybody here's got one. Rhonda, you got one, and Denise, you got one, and I know already Jane has got one, right? Okay. All right. So in this super meeting that I often love to call super journaling, because we put pen to pad, paper. Take whatever it is that your issue. I'll give you a couple minutes to do that and write, 2, 3, or 4 or 5 sentences on the issue. And you're doing that, you're writing that for yourself and your right and left hemisphere, because they're going to read it and know it as you're writing it. And this informs them both of the issue that you want help with. And they get a sense of, okay, this is what this is about. This is why we're being called together here. And then when you're done writing 2 or 3 or 4 sentences around the issue, then write what I call a preliminary objective for what you think you might like to have happen by the end of the super meeting. And preliminary, again, because it will shift and adjust itself as all the energy from your right and left hemisphere and you as third self start mixing together to come up with the creative solutions for the issue, whatever it happens to be, a problem or a goal. Preliminary objective. I'll give you about 3 minutes. Okay, about a minute to go. Okay, is everybody in a spot where we can go to the next step? Okay, it looks like it. All right. So you notice from the slide here, if you're brand new and seeing this for the first time, that this is the basic format on your it needs to be like a big sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11 or A4. So you divide your sheet of paper into these 3 equal areas, and the next, what we're going to talk about here are the middle 2, where it's divided in 2 columns. We're going to ask questions of the left hemisphere, and we're going to ask questions of the right hemisphere. We're going to ask the same set of questions of both, and we're all set for that now, because you've just explained to them, this is the issue, and this is the preliminary objective I have for right now, but I want you two guys to help me with that. And so take a moment and ask each of your hemispheres by name, individually. Ask them if they'd be willing to work with you on this issue, and you pool together your resources and your intellect and your creativity. Okay, and we've got that. So now we're all set to ask those questions of the left and the right hemisphere. And you can see the third segment at the bottom there. We're going to do that after we do the questions. So, but I wanted to put this all together like in this visual here, so you can see how the whole super journaling, super meeting process is mapped out. And the third one, they're blending the recommendations. You'll know more about that when we get into it. And so we've got the issue laid out in 4 to 5 sentences. We've got a preliminary objective, and we've activated the left and the right hemisphere by asking them if they're willing. And so now the first question is of the left hemisphere. Ask your left hemisphere, what's your first thought about this based on what I've said so far, laying it out and the preliminary objective? What's your first take on this whole issue in one sentence or phrase? And then write that down. And then the next question, you'll see I've got it in red there. And I'm using red symbolically because we want to find out how the left hemisphere thinks about this issue in terms of any concerns it might have. So whatever its first thought was, you think about that, and then you ask your left hemisphere, what's your concern behind that first thought? And then you write that down when they tell you in one phrase or sentence. Okay? And now you've got a phrase or a sentence. And now you ask the next question. And again, we're diving into the concerns. Ask your left hemisphere, and what is the problem that's even underneath that? And then once you've got that phrase or sentence, you ask, and what's the issue that's even underneath that? And now you've got you're down to the issue that's underneath that, and that's usually pretty deep and negative. And so at this point, you now ask your left hemisphere, and instead of all of that stuff, everything that they've already said about the concern and the problem and the issue, ask them, instead of all of that, what would you rather instead? In one phrase or sentence, and you write that down. And then ask, and if that happened, and that would accomplish what? You write that down. That would accomplish what? In one sentence or phrase. And then, once again, with the answer that they just gave you, and you ask, and that would benefit how? In one sentence or phrase. Okay, I just want to check with you, Denise, and Jane. I can see you both there. Are you caught up with me? Okay, good. So now we're going to move over to the right hemisphere. Now take a moment, though, to thank your left hemisphere for its answers, though. It's giving you what its concerns are and what it would rather have happen instead. Sometimes there are some surprises there. And sometimes it's just, you can understand how your left hemisphere would think that way. Exactly. Now moving to the right hemisphere, ask her, given everything that she's heard so far about the issue and the preliminary concern, ask her what is her first thought or feeling about this. And again, that was to be like one sentence or phrase. And so now that you've got that, I got to say a few words. You might have like a positive response from your right hemisphere. Like I'm doing this with all of you, and I got a positive response. And in these first few questions, we're again looking for any concerns that the right hemisphere has. We want to get those up on the table first and out. And so, as an example, the one that I got, the first thought of my right hemisphere was, it's going to be okay. Now that's positive, but that's good. And I want to find out what its concerns are if it's not okay. So the way I phrase the question now would be, what if it's not okay? What would be the problem under that if it's not okay? So you just take the positive statement and you kind of reverse it into a negative and ask, what if that good thing did not happen? What would be the problem with that? And you'll get that answer in one sentence or phrase. and then ask the next question, and what's the issue underneath that in one sentence or phrase? And then based on that answer that you just got, and ask your right hemisphere, and what's the concern that's even underneath that? Now the next question is, once again, we turn to the green and we ask, now, instead of all of that that you just told me, thank you for that. Instead of all of that, what would you prefer or rather have in one sentence or phrase? And then ask, and based on that answer that you just got, and that would help how in one sentence or phrase? And then ask, and based on the answer you just got, and the benefit of that would be in one sentence or phrase. And now take a moment to thank your right hemisphere for, revealing all of that, what her concerns are, what she'd rather have, all of that. Thank her. And the next question is back to the left hemisphere. And you ask your left hemisphere, given everything that we've unfolded so far now, all this information, what do you recommend in one sentence or phrase? What do you recommend in one sentence or phrase? And then thank your left hemisphere for that recommendation. And you move to your right hemisphere and ask her, and there might be two ways of phrasing this question. You could ask her the same question, what do you recommend in one sentence or phrase? Or you could ask her the version that you see here, how do you want to be? Or how do you want to feel? Either question works. Just pick the one intuitively that she wants to answer. Okay, now I'm going to come back to you guys. This is the personal discovery part, and we've completed that. And the really wonderful, although sometimes it's subtle, the wonderful thing that happens right at this point when you get a recommendation from both your left and right hemisphere is this is all a reflection of the fact that all three of you are now in this wonderful state of alignment. If you look at the recommendation from your left hemisphere and you look at the recommendation from your right, they're very likely different, but not different by much. You'll notice that they really fit beautifully together. They're like complementary to each other. That if you put them together, you get like a super recommendation, for lack of a better term right now. It's like the yin and the yang of each other. And you as third self, as the moderator, as the facilitator, look at these and can see like the wisdom and the deep utilization of this. This is like it's perfect. That's what we need to do. And so we begin the next part, the breakthrough part, by blending the two recommendations together. So I'll use mine as an example, and maybe I'll check in with you, with a couple of you as well. So the one recommendation I got from my left hemisphere was to follow the steps as they are revealed. And, when I wrote that down, I realized that is just like so perfect, because that is the way it's going to go. If it's going to go successfully, just follow the steps as they're revealed to me. And the recommendation from my right hemisphere was different. And he said, do what we need to do to have enough energy. Do what we need to do to have enough energy. And that, too, is another vital aspect of following the steps as they're revealed, to have enough energy to pull them off. And so those two recommendations like fit together like a hand in a glove. And so to blend them, then all I'm going to do is just put them together in a compound sentence. First time is starting with let's say the left hand. So the combined recommendation, the blended recommendation, is follow the steps as they're revealed and do what we need to do to have enough energy. Perfect. And now just to to energize the circuitry, reverse them, and go do what we need to do to have enough energy to follow the steps as they are revealed. You can see how that's actually different, but the same, but has just a different sense to it when you do reverse them like that. And so now in that way, then those two recommendations are now blended. So how did that work for you all? Let's see. Jane, is it working about like that for you?
I had investigate and feel empowered and loving, and then I turned it around. I get to feel empowered and loving while investigating.
Yeah, wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Denise, how did yours work out?
Mine did. I want to start organizing now and feel lighter while doing this project. And then when I flipped it around, feeling lighter while I organize, I can just start somewhere now. And it kind of got a little choppy there, but basically,
Okay.
basically the concept was I want to do the stuff, and I also want to feel lighter. And then by feeling lighter, starting the project, I feel like I'll be more productive.
And so
It'll be more
it supports
enjoyable.
the doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, Rhonda, how about yours? Yours, yeah.
The reverse didn't. I had two different things, and it was the left hemisphere was work hard to go full time and do massage therapy on the side. And then I got a little cautionary look at how much time we have with less TV, which kind of came out of nowhere. But and then my right hemisphere said, go for it, but use it for fun and security. You can always quit. And then what the combined thing that seems perfect, though, there is no permanent harm to go full time and a potential for great benefit. Try and trust the outcome.
Okay, wonderful. Beautiful, beautiful. All right. Thank you both, all three of you, for sharing that. Okay, so we're now going to go into the breakthrough part. And this is the least effort or takes the least effort. So at this state of alignment between all three of you, left and right hemisphere, and you as third self, you can activate the recommendations. And this is the job for just the right and left hemisphere, not for us as third self to be involved in this at all. We want to stay out of this. And so we're going to give instructions to both of our hemispheres to work on putting together these recommendations subconsciously for a 5-minute time period. We're going to set a timer for it. We're going to give them 5 minutes, and they're going to do it silently and at the level of consciousness that is just below the threshold of your awareness. Now, because they're going to be doing their work that way, silently and with each other only, they're going to be communicating like telepathically, in a sense, between each other using the corpus callosum, using all that nerve fiber bundle that connects the left and right hemisphere, 250 million fibers, roughly. And they're going to be going back and forth and all kinds of activity. And because they're doing it basically telepathically without having to use words or full sentences or like something fully planned out, they're going to be putting this together in this subconscious way. And they're going to be able to do it at light speed. And so as they're doing that, we're going to ask them to give us an occasional word or phrase to have that bubble up into our consciousness as they're working as like a small clue or a hint of what they're coming up with. Just a word or a phrase will bubble up every 20 or 30 seconds. And when it does, here's you as third self. Your job is to stay out of their way while they're working, first of all. And you stay out of their way by closing your eyes and you give them a go signal. And then while they're doing that, you move your eyes left and right, left and right, left and right, easily and comfortably. And you focus on moving your eyes left and right. And you can improvise. I mean, you can do like in a figure eight or like an infinity symbol, or you can move your eye left and down and then up and right, however you want to do it. But your focus as third self is to make sure that you are totally into moving your eyes left and right so that you stay out of their way. And then as you're doing that, they're going to bubble up one of these clues every 20 or 30 seconds. You can stop moving your eyes and write it down. And once you've got it written down, then put your pencil down and go back to moving your eyes left and right. And then when the next clue comes up, bubbles into your consciousness, stop and write that down. So you're going to be alternating between moving your eyes left and right and just writing down whatever clues they offer you every 20 or 30 seconds. Okay. Any question about that? Okay. We're going to give them 5 minutes to do this, and really no more is necessary. And we'll talk about it once the 5 minutes are up. Is everybody okay to proceed? Okay. I'm going to set a timer here. Echo, set a timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, starting now.
Okay, go. Now, these words and phrases that come up, some of them might be really unusual in some way, but just go with them, just write them down. All right. Now, we don't have to do any more than just the 5 minutes for right now, because your left and right hemisphere they're now into the task. And this 5 minutes was like a jump start for them to do it, to get it really rolling. And they know what to do. And they are continuing, they're not stopping. They are continuing to blend these recommendations together for the balance of the day today. And things are going to happen. And I'm going to go back to sharing my screen once again. So what you may expect from this is you should be pretty peaceful right now. And it reduces stress often to a 3, 2, or a 1. New insights and awarenesses sometimes occur during this process. We discover things different aspects of the issue that we hadn't thought of before. A new path may appear that is self-initiating. This is what you may expect now from in the future, like in the near future, like even today. And there are massive shifts that are going on in memories and in circuitry that you just kicked off with this second part of the process, the breakthrough part of the process. And in some respects, there is some research that indicates that doing deep work like this actually starts to reconfigure some genes. You've all heard, well, I don't know that everybody has heard it or that everybody even cares, but there's been some amazing new groundbreaking research in the last 20 years in the field of genetics. And that years ago, we used to think, our genes were our genes. We got them from our parents and we were stuck with them. Now we're finding out that the way genes work is very different, that they talk about the phrase gene expression, meaning that genes are now, we realize they have like an on-off switch, and they can be turned on and turned off by circumstances. They can be turned on and turned off by deep work like this. So there is undoubtedly a whole bunch of gene expressions that have been reconfigured to make sure that this blended outcome is now well on its way to manifesting itself. And if you get into the quantum mechanics, the quantum theory, the quantum world, we're now beginning to create matter. We're going to be able to create thoughts and things happening from this work that you've just accomplished for yourself here today. So let me check in with a few of you. Just give me a sense of what what was unusual or what was noteworthy about what you went through here. And I'll start I'll start with myself. Um, let's see. I came up with some things that made good sense for me, like go for a walk for one thing. Be open to the signs that come my way. Be on the alert, and go one step at a time, and with no worries in between. And it's just like, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what we're gonna do. That's how we're gonna approach this thing. So I know what I'm doing right after the meeting. Yeah. Let's see, Jane. How about you?
Oh, mine were all action steps. And they were really weird things like buy presents and create floral arrangements and play with paper mache. And I finally ended with color, color, color.
Wow.
And that has to do
Okay.
with sleep, wow.
That has to do with what?
I was going, my thing was investigate and feel loving and, feel empowered and loving while investigating. And then I had all these chanting and music and play. And I even wrote slip and slide. It's not even summer. And so I think I was entering into a real childlike place. Yeah, my left and right hemisphere were just,
working away.
Yeah, just,
So did you say something there about colors and paper mache and?
Yeah, I finished with paper mache and then right as you were saying the timer were over, it was just color, 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 like ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't explain it.
I can't explain it either. But.
And the but is, it sounds like it is a genuinely novel approach to sleep. But genuinely novel, not just novel, but might produce a breakthrough.
Yeah. Well, my left and right hemisphere, it got really, really dark. So, which surprised me because it didn't have anything to do with sleep. And so it went into some of my big issues. And then, when we have this, this was really a remarkable day, I will have to say. And I wrote down the date when I did this, everything. I know where it's at. I am not going to mislay this. I really
all your notes that you did from
because last week I don't know where they're in this journal, but I write on front and back, and I don't write the dates down, and a lot of things get mixed up. And I purpose to be more organized because this one seems important.
I am all for the color, color, color. I don't know if you do this, but when I'm doing in my workbook, I have, these are just a sampling of the colors that I use in different ways.
Well, maybe that's what I was, maybe it's, I get out of the black pen, and into the color, or maybe it's getting into living color,
Yeah, let's see. This one is one of my less colorful ones, but I mostly did red and black, and there's some green in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, wonderful. And let's see, Rhonda.
With that exercise, there are three really big future life things going on for me right now, and in the midst of this is an opportunity for a full-time job that can hinder the other things. So what popped up is just a whole lot of things. But one of the ones was cut the albatross. And that other things will fall into place. after this decision. So, or really, yeah. And it's a potential job opportunity that I am almost sure I'm going to get the offer, which means at least temporarily giving up some other things. So, and I wasn't even looking at that way. I was not like looking at giving up anything else. But it looks like, I mean, that's kind of what popped up. So, yeah, I was really surprised because that's not where I was. And the other thing that was really nice that came up, and remember the long COVID that I'm dealing with, the tired you is a false state. So that was really helpful too.
Yeah. Well, you can look forward to things kind of like options just falling into place for you to act on or not act on, your choice. But you'll just have a good sense. It's an improvisation, and you are now totally prepared for improvisationally making correct choices every step of the way. Wonderful.
Yeah, the war's done between the left and right hemisphere.
Did you say the war is done?
The war is done regarding this. Yes.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So was there a war?
Yes.
Okay.
Very.
Okay. Thanks for telling us that, because that adds a new positive dimension to what you just experienced as well that we didn't know about, and that's super positive.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, Denise.
I'm very excited for Rhonda.
Yeah.
And see how where she goes with it all.
Yeah.
And mine was, and I kind of knew this, but it came up and as a reminder, because mine's about getting organized and the procrastination and all that. Mine was like to embrace non-perfection. Like, just start somewhere and do it. And I don't have to know how it's all going to end. Like if I get a whole bunch of stuff organized and then it's not quite right, well, I can undo it and do it different. But, you have to start somewhere. And so I thought that was good. And then also to be positive about the whole, every time you achieve something, I don't have to wait to get my gold star when everything is beautifully in its place and everything is functioning. I can, give myself a pat on the back and recognize each little achievement I make, great or small.
Yeah.
And eventually it will get, I say, done, because anybody who is a crafter knows that you're never done and you always have projects going on. So, and that's okay.
Yeah. So, wonderful for that. Yeah. And that part about being more loving to yourself, boy, that's been coming up as a theme in my life over the last couple of weeks, front and center. That I need to do much more of that. Yeah.
Because it lightens things up. And when you feel lighter, like listening to Jane and, the words that she came up with, it's like, those to me all sounded like lightness and fun and, and if you're doing those things throughout the day, I would think that would help you be ready to go to sleep, or your brain will have kind of emptied itself out and prepare you for sleep. I don't know. Yeah. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah. Well, we're going to wonder a little bit, well, maybe not a little bit, maybe a lot like, 2 weeks ago, we got some good reports from you all in the beginning of this session about what had transpired the last couple of weeks. And, 2 weeks ago when we finished this meeting, what actually transpired over the 2 weeks, we couldn't have predicted that, how it all unfolded. But that's to me the best of life, when you're living life and you're living with these powerful intentions, and maybe doing butterfly codes and making decisions and doing like a super meeting to set something in place to happen. Like we're putting all the pieces in place for them to just fall together, over the next couple of weeks. But how they're going to fall together, we don't know. And that'll be something exciting. I'm looking forward to hearing from each of us, and I'll have something to share next week on mine. I'm going to go for my walk, and I'm going to go at a nice, easy pace, because I discovered during the week that I was entirely too serious about walking. And I had to maintain just the proper pace and, be tough on myself. And after doing a session with myself during the midweek, I went for my walk, and I thought, no, I'm going to be just casual. And as I was going through the walk, I thought, my goodness, this is different. I realized I've been too hard on myself. I could have been enjoying this and still getting just as much benefit out of it, as I was before. So self-love, wonderful. Yep. Love yourself. I'm thinking the more I'm able to love myself, the more I can show to other people. And of course, the converse is true. When I'm down on myself, other people don't get all of me. So all of our best to each other over the next fortnight, all of our best to you who are watching this as a replay. You're a really important part of the whole mosaic of life. Glad you're here and watching us go through all this together here today, and that you're getting a ton from it as well. So go ahead and unmute yourself. We're going to say goodbye. Any final thoughts? Let's take just a moment for an observation of what did we accomplish today. Just an observation or two at the most. And one of the observations I have is that this session felt very comfortable. I was at ease, through this session, doing my own thing as well. I don't always participate completely in the process that we're doing. And I did participate. And I'm glad that I did, because I'm going to have something to report in a couple of weeks. Okay, Denise, any thoughts?
I just really like the left and right hand on the heart, and really connecting, to center for me, and being on my bikes again.
Wonderful. Oh, thanks for mentioning that again. Okay, so here we've got that. And the superstate. I forgot all about that. Yeah.
And you can always go back there. With just that gesture. And I find it interesting that my hands did not want, when we took them down, they wanted to stay together. So I felt like it was like the, reconciliation process. It's like they bonded together. And so whenever I have a second, or I'm going to be curious, I guess, and see if when I pause for a minute, if my hands are together without me knowing.
Yeah.
That I'm not physically actively putting them together. So that'll be kind of fun.
Yeah. Thanks. Jane?
This is really weird. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Elvis Costello.
Yeah.
Okay, he's got a song, What's All This Talk About Peace, Love, and Understanding? And I just started singing, What's All This Talk About Peace, Joy, and Freedom, and I just was channeling Elvis Costello. And so I think I'm going to get off here and go listen to it. And then I love to take songs kind of like Weird Al Yankovic, and turn them into my song and twist the lyrics around. So I'm going to have fun. I'm just going to play and do that. That's my takeaway today. What's all this talk about peace, joy, and freedom? Yeah.
Wow.
AKA Elvis Costello. And I'm not even a musician, but I'm a wackadoo. So there you go.
Thanks, Jane.
Thank you.
Rhonda?
Well, I'm loving that Jane and Denise have both alluded to the superstate because that I just had realized like that, yeah, I'm in that same state at the end of this. And the whole problem was so stressful. And I was really avoiding entering into processing it. And it's so nice to have processed it and walked out in that same super state. In fact, I'm sitting with my hands folded like this as we've been talking. And when Jane said that, I'm like, I looked at my hands and going, oh, well, here I am. So that was a wonderful anchoring, and it's still here.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Those are the best notes to end us on. Let's say goodbye, and we'll see you all in a couple weeks. Catch up with each other again. We love you all.
Good night. Good night. Good
Namaste.
Good day, everyone.
I got goosebumps.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you in 2.